Welcome back to Market Movers, the series where we break down the biggest winners and losers in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Secondary market. Before we jump in, if you're looking to pick up any of these singles, check out CardTrader. It's the safest way to buy and sell cards worldwide, and with my code DOOMEX, you'll save an extra 5% on your order. We're going to be looking at the new 2025 Megatins, and trust me, there's been some wild movement. We'll cover the cards that are paying for tins by themselves, and the ones that completely crashed after pre-release hype. Let's get right into it. We are going to start with cards that are winning from the Megatins, then we will move on to the cards losing. First up we have Fiend Smith's Track, which is selling for $26 to $30 right now, and tins cost around $21. Pre-release, it's at closer to $15. I would say this card is definitely worth its value, considering how strong the engine is. This is exactly the kind of pull that covers the cost of your tin, and then some, making it a clear winner. Molchemi Parulia. One of the biggest chase cards. Pre-release copies were over $60, and even weeks later it's still holding at $55 to $61. The price is justified if you consider this card as basically modern-day Maxi. If you pulled Parulia, you basically triple the cost of your tin, infinite, imperm. A staple that never dies. Pre-release copies spiked at $45 to $50, and while supply cooled it down, it's now stabilizing around $20 to $22. Even after reprints, players always need playsets of imperm across every format. That constant demand keeps it a strong winner. Dominus Purge. Here's one of the priciest pulls from the tins. Dominus Purge is sitting at $50 to $52, more than double the cost of a tin. It's powerful, competitive, and hasn't shown any signs of falling off yet. If you crack this, you definitely hit a jackpot. Dominus Impulse. Another heavy hitter from the Dominus traps. This one is holding between $54 to $62, nearly triple the cost of a tin. The fact it maintained hype past release shows it's not just short-term speculation. Impulse is easily one of the best hits in the set. Molchemi Fuwalos. Pre-release, Fuwalos floated around $30 to $35. It dipped slightly after tins dropped, but it's now climbing back into the $25 to $29 range. With fewer listings showing up, it's a steady climber. Even with all of the reprints of Fuwalos, it confirms Molchamis have real staying power. Sengenjin Wakes from a Millennium. Not every winner has to be a $50 card. Sengenjin started around $5 to $6, and is slowly creeping to $7 to $8. That's not huge, but steady organic growth is always a healthy sign. Technically, this card isn't just used in only Exodia, but rather an engine to go into an easy rank 8, Iron Thunder. Here's a sleeper pick. Pre-release had Iron Thunder at just $5, but it's now pushing $10 to $12. That's nearly doubled in just a few weeks. Sometimes overlooked cards gain traction after players experiment, and this looks like one of those cases. All of these cards are winners because they outperform the cost of a tin. If one card pays for your entire pack, that's the definition of a strong hit. Now let's flip it around and check out the biggest losers. For the first loser we have SP Little Knight, the Starlight Rare version, which is crazy to think about. Pre-release hype had this card at $75 plus, but once tins actually hit shelves, supply overwhelmed the market. Today, Little Knight is down to around $18, with some copies at $12. It's one of the steepest drops we've seen for a staple. However, it does make sense with all of the reprints of this card we have. Most players probably own a copy already and don't care about upgrading. Also, you only really need to play one copy, so there's definitely a huge supply of this card and not really any demand. Lacrima the Crimson Tears. At pre-release, Lacrima reached $20, but once supply flooded in, it corrected down to $13 to $14. I'm actually surprised with this one, but it is still holding a bit of value even after falling a bit. Bestial Drewsworm. This one is a perfect example of a pre-release trap. Drewsworm was $26 early on, but now it's down to $6 to $7. That's over a 75% crash. Since the ban list only allows one copy, you can expect this to crash even further. Then we do have another reprint of this in the upcoming structure deck, which will completely crash this card's value even for a Starlight Rare copy. Nightmare Apprentice. Hyped early for illusion support, Nightmare Apprentice sold for around $16 at pre-release. Fast forward a few weeks, and it's sitting at just $5. Unless it gets real play, this is likely where it stays. bestial Magnamut. Magnamut was once the most desirable bestial, sitting at $19 during pre-release, but just like Drooseworm, the reprint killed demand. Now it's closer to $7, showing that even strong staples can't survive mass reprints. Primate Lordly Load started at $20 pre-release, dipped to $10, then bounced between $15 to $17. It's volatile, but the trend suggests it'll settle lower unless Blue Eyes becomes a popular deck again. The Black Goat Laughs. Black Goat sat at $20 plus pre-release. It's now hovering around $14 to $15. I personally think this is a great card. I can see this card rising again, but this is just speculation, since most players don't like to splash trap cards in their deck. Heart of the Blue Eyes, probably the biggest loser of all. Pre-release copies sold for $22, but without meta relevance, it tanked to just $2 to $3. I could see why it was being sold for as high as $22, since it's a nice collector piece. Unfortunately, this one is bulk now. The common theme with these losers is pre-release hype. Prices always start inflated when supply is limited, but once tins hit the market and vendors have ripped a bunch of these tins, reality sets in. That's why patience is so important when buying singles. So that wraps up this market movers for the 2025 mega tins. We saw some huge winners that pay for entire tins, and some losers that show just how dangerous pre-release hype can be. If you're planning to buy any of these singles, make sure to check CardTrader. And don't forget, you can use my code DOOMX at checkout for an extra 5% off your first order. Drop a comment down below. Which tin pulls did you hit, and are you holding or selling right now? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.